All right, good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. I'd like to call the August 5th, 2021 awards meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We've got Ricky Erickson, Stephen Datz, and Sean Connor sitting in for Hai Vu on site. And then we've got Laura Dutton and Joe Arfano via WebEx. We have Julie Davis representing OGC, and we have Lori Whitmer representing Budget. Before we get started, I'll ask if there are any public comments on today's agenda, either in the room or emailed in prior to.
No public comments.
Thanks, Lynn. Do we have any public comments from anyone on the phone? All right, hearing none, we will start with today's agenda. We have items 1 and 2. And 4 and 5, we have deferred item number 3. They've all been reviewed by Procurement and by Budget and are ready for the Awards Committee review. We'll review each of the award items individually. We'll ask for questions or comments. And after that, we will ask for a motion to approve with a second. And then I'll roll call through the committee individually for your approval. We're going to start with the meeting minutes from July 29th. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, can we get a motion to approve?
Arfano, so moved.
Stephen Datz, second.
Thank you. We'll roll call through the committee, starting with Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Sean Connor.
Approved.
And Laura Dutton. Approved. Thank you. Award number 2 is a joint project. This is with the city of Jacksonville. This is a 6-mile creek bridge for utility replacement. And this is for the professional services, so the design engineering services for the project. STV Inc. is our recommended awardee, and the amount of $244,269.72. We're expected this to be completed in April of 2022. I'll just make a note that the award amount is about 12% higher than our Class 5 estimate that was done in March of 2021. But I'll note that typically JEA's utility work is constructed underground. And in this project, some of the improvements will be hanging from the new bridge. And so STV needs time to engineer the bridge support, design and details, and quantify the extra cost. So these above ground items were not included in our estimate originally. We did talk about how they are going to start revising these before we hit the street. This clearly was something that came after. So we shouldn't see too many more of these where we're not quite understanding the full scope before we hit the street. And I'll make sure Jay understands that when I send that over to him for approval. Are there any questions?
Jenny, this is Stephen. You mentioned that it was approximately 12% higher. On page 8, it's showing 11%. It is 12%. Okay. You're correct. You need to revise that.
Okay.
Hey Jenny, this is Joe Perez. I fixed the online version on SharePoint to show the 12%.
Okay. That's the one I printed, so that's what I have. Okay, perfect. All right, so it looks like it is right. The one on the screen has been updated. So we'll make sure that one's a part of the packet, Lynn, if you don't mind.
And
thanks, Stephen.
Just a general comment. In the award, it mentions the Class 5 estimate revised March 24th. I didn't see that in the supporting document, but anytime there's a reference like that, I'd really like to see that included in the package.
Understood. We will make sure we do that going forward. Can we get that and put that in the packet for Joe?
Yes, Jenny, we will add it to the packet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 2.
Sean Connor, so move.
Thanks, John.
Ricky
Can we get a
Erickson,
second?
second.
Thanks, Ricky. We'll roll call through the committee, starting with Sean Connor to approve award number 2.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson,
Approved.
Stephen Datz,
Approved.
Laura Dutton, approved, and Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Thank you. Award number 4, this is an invitation to bid. This is for the Cedar Bay Water Reclamation Facility Backup Power System. Tallcross Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $3,074,000. And we are expecting this project to be completed September 30th of 2022. And I'll note we have a 12% JSEB participation on this. We had like 4 submit bids. Will you scroll down just a bit, Lynn? I want to make sure it's, we say in the write-up that there's 2 bids that were received. Will you update that to 4, please? I saw that error when I was reviewing these. And it looks like the award amount is about 6% higher than our original budget estimate, which is we're attributing to the material price increases when we looked at the comparison. Are there any questions or comments on this one?
Jenny, I think the paragraph in the background is correct because it says we received 2 bids and then we extended the bid due date and then received.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
7 bids. Just to
Thank
clarify.
you. Sorry. And I think I read that yesterday thinking the same thing and then read further down and saw that it was 4. Okay. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. So we don't need to update that. Any other comments or questions? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 4.
Laura Dutton, so moved.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Joe. We'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 4, starting with Laura Dutton.
Approved.
Joe Arfano,
Approved.
Ricky Erickson,
Approved.
Sean Connor,
Approved.
and Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Thank you. And our last award, this is the award from last week that we deferred. Award number 5 was a request for proposal. And this is for the facilities janitorial services sheltered market for our generating stations. So Eversafe Building Maintenance Corp is our recommended awardee. The award amount has, the recommended award amount is $489,552.43. And we are doing a 1-year award with some optional renewals, 2 1-year optional renewals. Same scenario as presented last week. There were 2 proposals. This is a sheltered market, so the reduction in competition is deemed okay. There were 5 that attended the pre-bid. So when we shelter a market, we're looking at something where we have at least 4 or 5 JSEBs that can participate. And that's how we will determine sheltered markets. We think that that's enough competition for us to do that for them. So you'll see those on like landscaping and facilities, janitorial type stuff. So we received 2, and then when we were talking about it last week, we had quite a bit of discussion on the minimum hourly wage of $12.55. So we did add a statement that discussed where we got that information. And it is from an index that we pulled out from the Labor Bureau, or the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it's the median hourly wage for janitors and cleaners, except for maids and housekeeping, and it is at $12.55. So we went back and discussed the bid workbook with the lowest bidder and the highest ranked, and they did confirm that they are paying $12.55 for their staff, and that was an error on their part from inserting that onto the workbook. We also saw another error on the workbook that was deemed a minor irregularity, mathematical error, if you will. So the bid amount has been updated a little bit. When you look at the scores, it's still, the results are still the same. Clearly price drove this one. And we did, I think I'll pause there. I mean, we had a lot of talk about where we came up with that $12.55, so we wanted to make sure that we addressed that. And do we have any other questions that we still want to talk about? Stephen High's not here, but I think he had also asked something about the benefits, and I think Melanie's on today and can talk and answer any questions that we have. But I think from a benefit perspective, there's a lot of part-time employees that support them, and so I'm not sure that they would give them benefits from that perspective. If there's full-time employees, that would be a different story, but there is a lot of part-time support for these contracts.
Hey, Jenny,
Yeah.
I think one of the other questions last week we had some conversation on was just the disparity between the two bids. And if we had any feel for what, if there's something driving that. I feel more comfortable with the wage portion of it now, but what's the big difference there? Do we know?
Yeah, Melanie had sent a backup. So the EverSafe is our incumbent. They know our facilities a little bit, better since they're doing those services now. Regina is a new participant, first time that we're seeing them bid, and they're probably just looking at the square footage from what we can tell and basing it off of that. They just, they just don't know it as well as the incumbent does. So without, going back to them and asking them, we're kind of making some assumptions, but we feel like that's probably why. We've got just better pricing, and actually EverSafe did go up a little bit in their pricing. We saw about a 10.5% increase. So that's really all we have unless we go back to them, and they were so far from it, we just didn't think it was. Once we clarified with them, we didn't think it was worth going back to ask. But I mean, we can, but we have to make some assumptions if we don't do that. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what our assumptions are. Melanie, is there anything else that
no,
you would want to add to that?
Sorry, no, you covered everything, Jenny. Unless they have some more questions, I'm happy to take them. Okay.
So this
Jenny,
is just a year. We've got the optional renewals. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah. Similar to Award 2, if you could just provide a screenshot or a PDF of that reference to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics so that we have that in the package. And then a general question, and this is just a consistency thing. The ad hoc pandemic events hourly rate, emergency cleaning services, and ad hoc cleaning services were $12.55 for the janitors. The supervisor has an increase of $1, and it's only under the ad hoc pandemic events hourly rate. So I was wondering what the justification was there. it would seem that the janitor and supervisor would be adjusted for the pandemic.
I'll take that, Stephen. So really, typically there's not a supervisor on site. So we use those under those circumstances. So that's why we put the hourly rate there for the supervisor under ad hoc. But we're able to use that ad hoc pricing, across the board, so.
But you have $13.55 for the supervisor under ad hoc pandemic events.
So likely, if I think what we're communicating, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melanie, is that we don't typically have a supervisor on. So if it's an ad hoc service where we're going to have to call them in extra, we would pay them a little bit more than what we would pay them for their normal services.
That is correct.
And I think the janitorial, and just as a history, they didn't charge us for any ad hoc services last time, Stephen. It was included in just what they had submitted in the regular bid workbook and just their services to us. This time we asked them to include that because we want to make sure that they're getting paid appropriately for the services that they're performing. So this is too new, for them at least. This was two new rates that we made them put in there because it was $0 last time. And we want to make sure that we're covering that. Is that correct? Just make sure I'm saying that right, Melanie.
You absolutely are. Thank you, Jenny.
Okay, thanks.
That's
So
all I have, Jenny. Thank you.
You're welcome. So they'll still pay their janitorials the way they need to, and then I think they'll pay the extra if they need to have a supervisor on. All right. Any other comments or questions on this one? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 5.
Ricky Erickson, so moved.
Ricky for the win.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. We will roll call through the committee to approve award number 5, starting with Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Laura Dutton.
Approved.
Joe Arfano. Sean Connor.
Approved.
And Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Thank you. All right, we had a pretty short agenda. That wraps us up. We have approved all of the items for the August 5th, 2021 meeting. Is there any other business to come before the awards committee? All right, seeing none, we're adjourned. Everybody have a safe weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. You're welcome.
Well.